They say sometimes you have to move back in order to go forward. Could we be seeing a familiar face back in Champaign next season? Locked on Illini. Let's go.
You are Locked on Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on, welcome all to another edition of Locked on Illini. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. My name is Verma, your host here at Locked on Illini, where I continue to provide you content each and every day. That's right, every single day, including the weekends. You can expect to find anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes of Illini content. So if that's right up your alley, make sure you've hit that like button on this video. I promise it's a good one. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It's my goal to hit that magical 3,000 mark at my 1 year anniversary, which I believe is going to be May 16th of when I took over this show. Today's going to be a very interesting episode because I'm going to be talking about what pretty much everyone has been talking about when it comes to Illini basketball. There was a rumor that got leaked, I believe it was late Saturday night, in the Trilly Donovan Discord about a very interesting name who may or may not enter the transfer portal at the time on Saturday night, and that was Adam Miller. Now, that sent shockwaves through Illini fans because, of course, we're very familiar with Adam for that freshman season that he played at Illinois, where he started every single game. But then I did a little digging myself, and I reached out to a couple of my sources. I'm like, is there any validity to it? And apparently there is. Early Sunday, Adam went and entered the transfer portal to basically confirm things. And Trilly Donovan, again, on Twitter, basically hinted that Illinois could be the destination that Adam wants to round out his college career at. Now, again, I was surprised when I first heard Adam Miller's name. I was surprised he had any eligibility left, especially with the whole, I thought all the COVID guys were done, but he had lost a year due to injury. And so he actually does have one more year left. And the fact that, he's open to coming back to Illinois makes a lot of sense to me, to both parties. It's funny, I referenced Adam Miller maybe 2 weeks ago when I was talking about Morez Johnson and how I was very shocked about Morez Johnson entering the transfer portal, but ever since Adam Miller had entered the transfer portal after his freshman year, that was real shock because that was not the norm at the time. And so, now that his name is being bandied about as, a possible contender to return back to Champaign, a lot of people were asking, is that possible? Have they made amends? And I will say, look, it's WrestleMania week, right? If CM Punk can come back to WWE after 10 years, so can Adam Miller come back to Champaign. Now, look, I'll be honest with you. I don't think Adam ever really wanted to leave Illinois. I think he was always very out and vocal about his support for the program. I think there was, let's just say it again, outside influences who decided that his future was better elsewhere, and that's why he ultimately went elsewhere. But he may have gone elsewhere, but he really hasn't won. He hasn't gone to an NCAA tournament game since he left Champaign, and I do think that maybe, the idea of him coming back to Illinois, it's because it's going to be his last college basketball season, right? It's not really have much professional aspirations, at least in NBA-wise. Maybe he just wants to come back, finish the story. Another WWE reference for you. And win a couple games in the NCAA tournament and win 20 games this season. And who knows, maybe win 1 or 2 in the NCAA tournament. And now, Illini fans are very up and down about the response to Adam Miller coming back. Obviously, I would say that if Adam was going to be your starting shooting guard on next year's team, sure, my enthusiasm wanes a little bit. But I don't think that's what his role or expectation is. Look, I think Brad, if this is going to happen, Brad has had this conversation with them. Say, hey, Adam, your freshman year, we started you every single game. You're not going to have that here. If you want to come back and be a rotational guard, spell Kylan Boswell, spell whoever our shooting guard is going to be in the future. Again, I don't think he's on the roster as of now. Play maybe 15 to 20 minutes a game. Then we may have a spot for you. I think the roles would be plenty clear for Adam from the coaching staff at this point. Now, last year, Adam averaged 9.8 points per game, 2.3 rebounds, almost 2 assists. He shot 45% from field goal and almost 43% from the 3-point line. Again, those are the type of numbers that Brad absolutely wants to bring to Illinois. Again, is he a starter? No, I don't think so. And I did get to watch a little tape of him from Arizona State last season. He does look a little slower than he used to be. He doesn't quite look as athletic as the promising freshman he was at the time. That might just be injury, though. It takes time to recover from the type of injuries he's had to go with. I think more importantly, Adam Miller has started 115 games at the college basketball level. This is a veteran, an experienced type of player that I do think that this team kind of needs. Like, we went way too young last year. Right now, I do like the idea that we're bringing in potentially more of a veteran presence into that locker room. And then if you compare those veterans, again, a senior year Kylan Boswell, Thomas Love, a senior year Adam Miller, with the young players like a potentially a Dame Sarr and whoever else we may be recruiting, who the names might just not be out yet, that'll kind of be the more well-balanced team that last year's team just wasn't. It was just too reliant on Will Riley, Kasparis, and just the other freshmen on the team. This year, I don't think that's going to be a problem. Listen, Illinois needs to fill a backup role, okay? That's still on the wish list for this basketball team. We need a rotational power forward, and we need a rotational guard. I think you can do a lot worse than Adam Miller. There's a lot of other names that people are talking about, but quite honestly, you're talking about, conference player of the years. Those guys are going to cost a lot of money. Adam Miller, I think at this point, is not going to cost that much money, and you'll be able to save those resources for the potential of a guy like Will Riley coming back, or send some money over to Dame Sarr. Or again, there's other names that even haven't entered the transfer portal yet that would be interested in coming to Illinois. I'd rather focus your funds on those type of players. And guys, in a lot of ways, Adam can provide some of the intangibles that this team needed. I already talked about the veteran leadership, but look, we've talked about it on this show, right? This team needs more dogs, just mean, gritty type of players. Adam Miller is one of those. Adam is been consistently one of the better defenders in college basketball, essentially his entire career. He was a good defender when he was a freshman here in Champaign, and that skill of his never really went away. Defense really is his calling card. And that's not even it. I've had people in my comment section constantly talking about we need to rebuild those connections in Chicago, which, by the way, stay tuned to the next segment. You're going to find that one very interesting. And Adam Miller kind of does that. The whole story comes around full circle. And I do think ultimately that if Adam does decide to come to Illinois to finish out his college career, I don't think it's imminent, by the way. I think there's a good chance of it happening, but I don't think the T's have been crossed and the I's been dotted by any stretch. But I do think it'd be a cool story, right? Again, I don't think he's going to be asking for much when it comes to NIL. I think he'll quite understand the role that he's going to play on this team. It's not like we're going to be promising potential, former conference player of the year say, hey, come to Champaign and come off the bench. Those guys aren't going to listen to that. I think Adam is now very mature in his age. I think he's always had an appreciation for the university, even though some of the people around him may not have. And so I do think that he would take advantage of his last opportunity to play college basketball, where he started playing college basketball. I'm very curious. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Would you welcome Adam back to Champaign? Would you ever have thought you'd ever see Adam Miller back in a blue and orange uniform? Let me know your thoughts. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. And you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Me personally, I'm spending way too much money going out to eat. I got 2 kids. I'm tired. It's easy to go get food from the fast food restaurant. I know I got to keep that in check. And with Monarch Money, instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. And welcome back to Locked on Illini. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button on this video. Make sure you're subscribed. I'm well on my way to goal. My goal is being 3,000, hopefully by May 16th, which would be the 1-year anniversary of the show. Can you believe that? We're already there. Now, I did want to say, you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube on the bottom, my email is talkillini@gmail.com. Now that we're entering the off season, I'm going to be doing a lot more mailbags. There's a lot of questions you guys constantly have, and I feel like sometimes I miss them. So send me a message via email or leave a 5-star review on your favorite audio platform with a question in it. And I promise, as long as that review is 5-star, I'll read that question on the air and I will answer it for you. So another hot topic that was brought up over the weekend was, we know Illinois is going to be searching for an assistant coach. And when you're involved with a guy like Adam Miller coming back to Illinois, potentially, well, there's another name that's kind of attached to Adam, and that is the name Nick Irvin, the former Mac Irvin Fire owner. I guess I don't know how you phrase that necessarily, but Nick has been an assistant coach now in college basketball. And, there's a lot of fans, in particular of this show in the comment section, again, who constantly talk about how Illinois needs a Chicago coach again, that Illinois is too reliant on international prospects and that they need to bring someone local. They need to bring someone of color, that the perception is bad, et cetera, et cetera. And I just thought it was fascinating to hear the name of Nick Irvin. Now, I'm not reporting it because I'm just saying the name has been mentioned. But I do think that some of his air quotes qualifications is going to appease some of the masses that are kind of asking for it. My hope was that he would focus on finding some sort of X's and O's guy, not necessarily a connector, a recruiter, which Nick obviously is. I mean, Arizona State always had some very solid recruiting classes, but I truly do think that Brad's weakness right now, especially is on the defensive side. It doesn't look like Zach Hammer's going to go anywhere, and trust me, that bums me out. I'm absolutely okay keeping Tyler Underwood around for another year or two and trying to find the right pieces for that offense that they're trying to run. But I think the defense was a disaster last year, and I was hoping they would try things a little differently. Now, I'll be also honest with you, with the talent that we've brought in, Zvonimir, David Mirkovich, and Tomislav, of course, already at center, it looks like we pretty much are going to be forced to play drop coverage again, just because of their slower skill set when it comes to guarding and playing defense. And so maybe that's why he's not moving on from Zach Hammer. I don't know. It just looks like that's not going to happen. But obviously, Brad still does have to replace that Tim Anderson assistant coaching position. And that position is going to be a very attractive one. I'll repeat myself. Now, my hope, again, is that they go more on the X's and O's route. I understand we have Orlando. We have Jeff Alexander, who are great on the recruiting aspect. Orlando's got both domestic and international. Jeff Alexander has become one of the best international recruiters in the country, so much so that Illinois is getting prime time mentions on these public broadcasts like the Hoop Summit on Saturday night, where they just literally just talked about Illinois being a brand name when it comes to international scouting. And trust me, that is a very good thing. We have Tyler running the offense, which, again, I know a lot of you don't like. I'm just saying I'm in the camp that wants to give it another shot with the right pieces in place. But as much of a Brad Underwood supporter as I am on the show, I do know that he has a clear weaknesses. And those weaknesses are his in-game adjustment. And just nobody's ever going to convince him for being a great clipboard guy. So I truly am hoping that this Nick Irvin stuff is just kind of rumors. I do think there's a lot of up-and-coming assistant coaches who would absolutely love the opportunity to come to Illinois. Now, I don't know how much money Illinois is going to be able to offer an assistant coach position, but I know it'll be more than most of the assistant coaches in the country make. It may not be Tim Anderson money, what Tim made last year, and quite honestly, this past year for sitting at home doing nothing. But I do think it's going to be a significant pay raise for any of the top up-and-coming assistant coaches who want to coach at the P2 level. I know a lot of you guys think connections to Chicago are important. I'm being honest with you. I think it's completely overrated. Chicago in itself just does not matter as much as it used to 20, 30 years ago. And trust me, a lot of my sources are in Chicago. They're coaching in Chicago, the high school ranks, the AAU ranks. That's why I'm in tune with some of these recruitments, including a Nazir Rankin. It's because I talk to these people every single day. A lot of the talent in Chicago no longer stays in Chicago. And I'm telling you, the people that are being the loudest about how Illinois needs to be connected to Chicago are some of the coaches in Chicago who don't exactly have the purest intentions. Now, I'm not saying Chicago doesn't matter at all. And of course, it should be a focus because there is talent in the city. I do hope that if Brad Underwood and the Illini decide to go this route, hire a guy like Nick Irvin or maybe someone else in the Chicago local scene, that it's because they think he's the best man for the job. And not just because it's going to appease a couple loud voices in Chicago, which again, I don't think have the most purest of intentions to begin with. I mean, let's be honest. How much does high school recruiting even matter nowadays? We have 2 high school recruits coming on next year's basketball team, but for the most part, it really looks like not just Illinois, the rest of the country as well, but Illinois specifically is going to rely on the transfer portal and building those type of connections. So that's why the idea of trying to get an ace recruiter from the preps level really doesn't make that much sense to me, at least for the program that it looks to me that Brad Underwood is trying to build himself. I know some of you have asked me to build like a hot board of potential assistant coach names. Honestly, all I'm doing is waiting for Brad to make it official that he's looking for a new assistant. I think it's very much focused on the recruiting aspect right now, and I don't know, maybe he already has his assistant coach in mind. That's kind of what happened a couple years back with Tim Anderson. He already knew that he was going to be hiring Tim. Maybe that's the case right now, but for me, it's hard to build any sort of hot board until I find out that he's looking for an assistant coach and what kind of traits he's looking for. And that's when I can really put together maybe a list of 3 to 5 to 7 names for you guys, and we can go over those names and you guys can tell me who you guys think might be the best fit for the Illini program. But I will say the first time you're going to hear about it will probably be in the Talk Illini Discord. So the link should be in the description. Make sure you join it. That's where I've already brought up names of guys that haven't even entered the transfer portal that I do think that Illinois is going to be involved with. And that's where you're going to hear mentions of me talking about assistant coaches. Again, Nick Irvin, I had actually mentioned over this weekend in the Discord. So if you haven't joined already, we've got almost 200 Illini fans spread all across the country talking Illini sports. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, SupplyHouse is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with the complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? SupplyHouse offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always get to talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Now, I will say I was not expecting to be talking about Adam Miller and an assistant coach search on Monday's episode. I was absolutely expecting to talk about some of the commitments that the Illini football team might have had over this weekend. It was a big recruiting weekend where they hosted, I think, 9 or 10 different preps players in Champaign. None of those commitments became official. I think a few of them are silent commitments. And so as of this recording, at least, there's been no commitments. But I will say I expect 2, maybe even 3 commitments being announced from this past weekend happening on Monday, on Tuesday. And I do promise you that when those commitments do happen, I will absolutely discuss those players right here on Locked On Illini. So again, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and share it with your friends, your roommates back in Champaign during your college years, or just someone else you'd like to talk Illini basketball or football with. I'm only able to grow this channel because of the outstanding support I get from this community. That's going to wrap it up for today. Again, hopefully on Tuesday's episode, I'm going to be able to talk about some football recruitments. But again, it's just nonstop content here on Locked On Illini. Just know that I appreciate each and every one of you. ILL, love you guys.